number 3 and 4, Tyler Walker.
Wow, Tyler Walker. This guy's unbelievable. How about that right there? Tyler Walker.
Make you know they shall like it. I don't want nobody to keep my matter like. For this life I day, I want to be celebrated. Don't wanna waste my days, I want to spend them on enjoyment. It's been too hard. Make you know they shall like it. I don't want nobody to keep my matter like. For this life I day, I want to be celebrated. Don't wanna waste my days, I want to spend them.
Hey there, welcome to the Real Culture Collaborative. If it's your first time, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, hey friend, I hope you're doing well. You look great today. See what happens when you subscribe to the Real Culture Collaborative. You get a bonus greeting. So hit that subscribe or follow button, whether you're listening on YouTube or Spotify, and join us as we explore diverse cultures and foster global collaboration. So we have a super special guest today, Daniel Moynihan out of Manila, Philippines. We met each other.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Yo, what's going on, bro? We met in 2016, I believe. I was studying in Vietnam and took a small trip over to the Philippines, and we got connected through Justin Carino, and spent like 8 days straight with each other, just going around and exploring.
Felt like longer.
Yeah, it did. It really did, bro. I wish we had more time to hang out over there. But what's going on? What's going on in your world these days?
In Manila, well, we're just recovering from the pandemic. I don't know how it is from the rest of the world, but it kind of lasted a lot longer here. A lot of more restrictions. The rules were enforced longer, you know.
Yeah.
So, but now, like, everything's coming back to normal. I would say for almost a year now, everything's just slowly recovering and going back to the way it used to be. So I'm enjoying that. Like, I recently got into a relationship during the pandemic, and can you believe the first time we watched a movie together was literally 2 years into the relationship. Our first
Wow.
movie theater experience. You know what I mean? So it's crazy to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, in the I would say in the States we've recovered pretty quickly. You know, obviously we're a major hub. You know, y'all are off the coast of like China and Vietnam and everything. So maybe getting things to an island is a lot different than like maybe in the main. I don't know if you could talk to that too. Being in business, what's it like being a business owner in the Pacific?
Well, you know, if you're in the industry that is a necessity, then you're okay, but all the other industries took a heavy hit, right? I'm not saying that the necessity industries didn't. It's just they just pivoted into other ways of monetizing their value. Let's say like food, right? You just have a restaurant before, and when they close, so you can't have dine-in restaurant tours and clientele anymore. So all they really did was they pivoted, they froze their goods, you know, and then started selling them online. So I mean, everyone needs to eat. So it was just a matter of like moving to a direction that still created value for the customers. But now that everything's opening up again, you know, expectations changed. Because to give you an example, right? Before the pandemic, what happened was I used to go to a laundry shop where there was a cafe next to it, right? So I'd bring my laundry there. I'd put in the machine, you know, let it do its thing. While waiting, I'd have a cup of coffee, talk with the regulars, you know, catch up, this, that, right? But when the pandemic happened, obviously cafe closed, right? So now I'd have to go and get my laundry dropped off and delivered, which they were happy to do. But, you know, 2 years of being spoiled, drop off delivering their laundry to my doorstep. When they opened the cafe up and they were like, "Hey, I'll see you at the cafe," I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. You can continue just to deliver it to my doorstep." What I'm saying is, some people, you know, they were spoiled. They've gotten used to certain conveniences, and the old habits have changed, you know. So now because of that, the expectations are either higher or lower depending on what they were used to before, and because of that, now the way of doing business has changed as well.
Yeah, and that was now when we were down there, you were getting into the restaurant business. I think Coochie, and I only remember that because I was in Vietnam at the time studying.
Yeah, I see
And then
Vietnamese props behind you.
Yeah, man. That's just, keepsake. That's from graduation. What was really interesting, how I even ended up in the Philippines, and I'll get back to what we're just talking about. So I was
Mm.
working in the front desk of a hotel in Niagara Falls, New York, and
Wow.
Justin's auntie actually was working with me, and she's who piqued my interest in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And one day there was a gentleman that was staying with us visiting from Saudi Arabia. He's Filipino.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the guy's flat that we stayed in. You remember that
Mm.
up in Bonifacio
That
Global City?
that big one.
Dude, yo,
That was
shout
a
out to
huge flat.
Drew. Shout out to Drew if he's watching this. Like he didn't charge us to stay there at all. There's like four
Good
bedrooms.
times. I even cooked
Huge.
my pasta if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I
that's
cooked my
right, bro.
pasta
It
for
was
you
fire.
guys.
We had a whole setup. But this gentleman came down. I saw his passport, and I was hey, like, kumusta ka magandang umaga, real quick. And he's like, where'd you learn how to say that?
Mm.
And we got to talking. I was like, hey, I'm going on this trip to Vietnam, but he's like, you ever thought about visiting the Philippines? And I was like, maybe. And
Mm-hmm.
it just so happened that when I hit him up, his family was out of town. We could stay there, and his uncle picked us up at the airport, dropped us off. But what even made it better was, and we were talking about this earlier about relationships and connecting with people,
Mm-hmm.
was Justin's aunt hit Justin up so that when we were
Mm.
there, like automatically we had someone that was plugged in, and then he plugged us into
Boom.
you. And
Justin hit me up.
yeah, Justin hit y'all up. You even took us to church, which was really cool. That was
Mm.
my first experience like that. Now I'm
Really?
now really like, into the church and stuff now, which is really
Mm.
cool. But something that really stood out on that trip was just like even Sam's shout out Sam, I know you're watching.
Mm.
Sam's uncle owns some businesses down there, and he plugged us into some of his people, and they took us up to Olongapo and stuff to
Mm.
go to this, like, I don't know, tiger exhibit or something. They're jumping all over the jeeps and stuff. Is pretty sick.
Wow. Safari.
But man, like that trip to the Philippines, bro, and just in Vietnam really just opened my eyes to the world, and like made me realize that there's so much more out there,
Right.
right? And when I connected with you, you were in that entrepreneurial mind. Like we were beatboxing and rapping outside of like, these different places. I think California Love, the one spot.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I
Shout out
could
to
remember.
Cherry if she sees this.
Yeah, shout out to Cherry. It was just really cool. So what I learned about the Philippines is that, like, a lot of people think of other countries out of the States that they don't have a ton of infrastructure and whichever, but yo, the Philippines is popping,
Yeah,
bro.
no, I hear that the perception of the country is that we live in nipa huts, and
Dude,
like it couldn't be further from the facts,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's just like yeah. It's just wild. I don't get it. And like, I'm related, grew up around people that think that way, even like about Africa.
Mm,
My fiance's family's Nigerian. It's like,
mm.
yo, there's literally like full cities, like typical, like operating, whichever. And then you had this guy come
They've
into
got
office
escalators,
acting all
guys.
crazy, bro.
They've got
Yeah,
escalators.
it's wild. So,
No,
and that's what.
my girlfriend is in half Indian, but she was born and raised in Nigeria.
Oh wow, that's cool,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
She speak Yoruba or Igbo at all?
Uh, I think she can speak a bit pidgin.
Oh, pidgin, yeah.
Yeah,
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 how far? Yeah, that's lit, bro.
yeah.
But that's what this is about, bro, is like really connecting people to realize that there's like other countries out here that are operating like, us,
Right.
but like I feel like the living experience is even better. And maybe that's just for me as an American traveling out. Because even in Vietnam, bro, like, a meal was like $1 on the street,
Mm-hmm.
and like I could do that all week. Only spent
Mm,
$5. I went to breakfast yesterday before this basketball tournament I went to watch. I spent like $25 on an omelet,
mm-hmm.
and that's USD.
It's crazy.
20.
You can live like a king here, basically, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So, what talking about food and all this stuff, one, you're making me hungry. Number one. Two, so you were telling me earlier that something that you've been doing recently is going around pitching on behalf of businesses and helping them get funding.
That's right.
And mainly in the food industry, but also
Mm-hmm.
makeup
Any
industry.
industry. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that. What are some of your big projects you're working on today?
So basically, my heart has always been in food, right? I recently also found that my dad used to be a column writer for a food magazine. So
Wow.
he's somewhat of a food critic, and I just ended up in the food industry. And I don't know if I already shared, but basically I grew up not even knowing my dad, right? So he passed away. I was 9 months old, so I grew up with my mom. And my mom, when she saw that I was getting into food, she just laughed. She was like, okay, like, I never told you to choose that industry. It's in your blood, you know. It's
Yeah.
just natural, right? So I just couldn't, really figure out like where in food my place was, so now recently I just figured it out that I'm a great spokesperson. I can
Yeah.
represent the brands really well. And a lot of these brilliant minds, the CEOs behind the developing said concepts, right? They're brilliant, and they know exactly how to execute on their ideas, but they have a difficult time sharing their stories. A lot of them are very shy people. You won't believe, right? So when I saw that that was an issue, I mean, what is a business at the end of the day if not a solution to a problem, right? The first thing you need to figure out is what problem can you solve, right? And when I saw these entrepreneurs, and it kind of became a reoccurring theme, it was a trend where a lot of them were brilliant, but why weren't they getting the funding they deserved, right? And I kind of tied the pieces together, and all landed to the fact that they couldn't share their story properly,
Wow.
right? So that's what I do now. Is basically I come to these businesses, I hear their story, and I kind of meld the gap in between them and the people that should be investing in them. I figure out their story, I write it down, I kind of compose it into a pitch deck, and then I even pitch their story for them. And I get them the funding they deserve. In exchange, I get a piece of the pie, and everyone's happy.
Wow. I love
Yeah.
that business model because
Mm,
that's something that I've like been working on.
mm,
And for someone to really understand what that is, like, can you talk about value add? I think a
mm-hmm,
lot of folks, like, so for me, my family's background is really blue collar. So,
mm,
go to work, hourly, whichever, and I
mm-hmm,
respect everyone's like gaze, just what you were exposed to, right? But
mm-hmm,
in your case, you've always found a way to provide value. And
mm-hmm.
if something didn't work out, that didn't like, discourage you from going and doing the next thing.
Right.
So can you talk a little about one, facing adversity, but also two, bringing value? Because where you are able to add value, you could create other streams, and how many streams there were in Eden? There were four.
Right.
So we need to have more than just that one, right?
Yeah. Well, there's two ways of going about that before I forget, right? So like people say it's all about diversification, right?
Mm,
I don't necessarily disagree, but the thing is, there's something about focus as well, right? Like if a river forks, all streams lead to the sea, but the river that goes straight in just one direction gets to the sea faster.
wow.
Like regardless of the destination, there's two things you want to identify. Do you want to get there as quick as possible, or do you want to go further than that destination and go to other destinations?
Yeah.
Like there's a quote that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together,
Mm,
right? So you can even liken it to, let's say, if your goal is to burn through a wall, would you use a flashlight or a laser, right? So
yeah.
if you use a flashlight, you'll hit the entire wall, but that's pretty much all you're gonna do. If you use a laser, then you're gonna actually penetrate to the other side. So there's also a lesson to be learned here about focus as well, right? If you're talking about handling adversity, though, I guess the biggest lesson I learned, at least during the pandemic, was the stoic philosophy. Stoicism. It's just really, if I were to put it in one sentence, in a nutshell, if you ask yourself, when you're in the midst of adversity, you just ask yourself the question, can I do anything about it? Can I do anything about it? No matter what the situation is, can I do something about this situation? And you only get one of two answers. If the answer is yes, then do it. Do whatever it is that you can do about it, right? But if the answer is no, then whatever that adversity is, it has no more place in your life. Let it go, because just worrying about something you can't do anything about is draining energy from you,
Wow.
right? And instead of using that energy in worrying about something you can't do anything about, just focus on things that you can do something about. And even if that something isn't as big as the problem, you're at least progressing even an inch forward. And it's those incremental inches. And I see you have the book of Atomic Habits behind you. So I know you know what I'm talking about. It's
Yeah,
just those little wins. It's those little
dude.
wins that when they add up, like just one foot in front of the other, right? You
Yeah.
just know that you're going the right direction, and just one foot in front of the other. The next thing you know, when you look up, you're already there. you know it's about just consistency, and just problem solving what you can, and stop worrying about what you can't you know
Wow.
so
Yeah, that's
yeah,
so
so
good, man. I was just looking over my video. I was like, yo, Atomic Habits is standing out. Why you saying that? That's so
yeah,
funny. Great book. Man, love that book for real. Habit stacking, to your point,
right,
what you're talking
yeah.
about. If you get if
If
you
they don't know what that is, get a copy of that
Yeah,
book. That's
James
life
Clear.
changing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, Atomic Habits, James Clear. You could get it on Amazon and you can also get it on Audible and Kindle. You don't
Mm.
even have to go to Barnes and Noble to go and buy the
And if
actual
that's not
copy.
enough, I recommend another book. It's called The Power of a Habit.
Yes, fire. That's a good
So,
start. And I like what you said here, man. If you can't do anything about the situation, just let it go. And a lot of people have trouble letting things go, but
right.
if you can do something about it, just do it. Even if it's a really
What's
small,
stopping you?
even if you're moving the marble just a little bit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
a major splash, but celebrate those
A win is
wins.
a win, period.
Yeah, that's something I've been practicing lately, bro. Like,
Yeah.
even just setting this all up, like, I got the little mic, I got the
Yeah.
headset, the camera all set up.
The thing
I'm like,
is,
hey, I'm
you
just gonna do
actually
it.
did something. You
Yeah,
actually did something, and I'm willing to bet you 100,000 people are thinking of the exact same thing. The difference is you actually went and did it,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's all the difference.
Man,
That's all
yo,
the
glory to
difference.
God, bro. Glory to God for real.
Amen. Right.
Like,
So yeah,
man,
so about value. So that was the second question you asked, right? For
yeah,
me, it's really about realizing your gifts, your God-given gifts, the purpose of why you even exist in the world. A lot of people don't realize that that's really what you have to tap into, because sometimes we get desensitized. We get desensitized and we feel like anyone can do this, because it's so natural to you. Some of our talents is like breathing to us, right? So we don't actually feel like it's something that someone might have a difficult time doing, right? For example, like really bad example, but my beatboxing, right? Like
fire.
right? I'm like,
Yeah,
for me, I can do that like this, right? I don't even have to think, right? But because I can do that, I take that for granted, and I don't
yeah,
realize that that's valuable. And
dude, fire. Yeah,
when you don't realize that is valuable, then you start to not appreciate your own value, right?
yeah.
And when you can't love yourself and value yourself, then you're basically allowing everyone to take advantage of you, and to
Mm,
take that value, and to not really give you what you deserve, right? So the first step is really identifying what you have that is of value, because not everyone has these things, and not everyone are gifted these things. So basically, before you find your purpose, you have to find out what you're good at, right?
man,
So
that's so
there's a
good.
there's a philosophy, Japanese philosophy called your ikigai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly. Ikagai, something like that. But basically, it's a Venn diagram of things that help you find your ikigai, which is basically the Japanese for a purpose, right? And one of those things is, what are you good at, right? So you have to identify your strengths. The problem is, we feel like we always have to fit into the mold that the world gives us. Like, oh, if I'm going to be successful, I have to be an engineer, or I have to be a doctor if I'm going to be rich, or I have to be something that, because everyone who does this becomes rich. No, you are unique.
Right.
You are given your own purpose, and if you try and fit the cookie cutter mold that everyone is saying for you to do, it might get you somewhere, but it won't get you to where you're supposed to be.
Right.
And being where you're supposed to be is basically God's most divine story for you. And if you don't do that, you're not living up to your full potential. Even if other people don't think that that's special, even if it's like as simple as being the best, I don't know, sanitary engineer in the world, if that's God's purpose for you, there is greatness in that. There is greatness
Yeah.
in that, and you can be the best of whatever that is if you tap into that energy.
Mm.
If you tap into the vine, if you align, if God is the source, right? So God's giving you the energy that you need, and then this is you trying to receive it, right? Let's say this is like a pipe of water. So the water is flowing, you're
Yeah.
here to receive the water, but there's a connector pipe in the middle, right? And it's not vertical, it's horizontal. You're rejecting that energy.
Wow.
You've gotta figure
So
it
good.
out, and once you've identified what that is, just align, and then it can overflow into your life, and it'll be like breathing. Just like beatboxing is breathing to me, the value will emanate to whoever needs it, right? And you'll be in the right rooms, you'll be talking to the right people, and you'll be getting the respect you deserve, right? So with value, that's what I think the first step is, figuring out what you're good at. And then, like I said off air, work with people whose strengths are your weaknesses. No man
Mm.
is an island. We're here to complement each other at the end of the day, right? So yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's so good, bro. Um, man, well, that's so fire. Just those are things that I preach. So I'm glad that like you're kind of saying the same things. So
Yeah, amen.
it's social proof, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, when more people are moving in that way. But we gotta wrap up here in a few. So can you tell us what's next for you, bro?
Well, me, I really feel like my purpose, my ikagai, is to talk. I feel like that's my God-given purpose, and to change life with the stories and messages that I share, right? So my most core goal next is to help young men who didn't have fathers either. Since I knew the bane of growing up without a masculine mentor figure in my life, I have a soft spot for the next generation of young men. Even if they do have fathers, they may not have had the mentorship that they need. So
Yeah.
so my goal is to share what I've learned, and hopefully that can help them not make the mistakes I made, and make better decisions, and just equip them with the right knowledge of how to be a good man, essentially. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and if you can let me know how, we can help, or, even someone just watching this. I know you're in a different country, but that doesn't just limit you to the Philippines.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's a global deal. So man, I just, it was so cool. I hit you up the other day. You're like, yeah, let's hop
Hey.
on. We haven't talked in years, and you just made us feel so welcome when we came
Yes,
to the
of course.
Philippines. So I'll always remember that trip, but in
And you're
particular
always
you.
welcome to come back, buddy.
Yeah, so I think once we get married, we're gonna take a year to travel,
I'll
hopefully
show
the
you guys
world,
around.
and then start to have kids, and little Tyler's running around. I'm so
Oh
excited for
boy.
that.
The next level.
Yeah, great. All right, man. Daniel, appreciate you. Where can people find you on social, actually?
Right. So if you want to check me out on Danny Moyni here, I think it's here. Yeah, Danny Moyni, DANIMOYNI, on all socials. If you want to check out the company I'm building, which is Maginoo Manila. Maginoo is basically Filipino for gentlemen,
Wow, how
right?
you spell that?
Maginoo with two O's. Spells as it sounds. Maginoo with two O's in the end. And then MNL, short for Manila. MNL.
Awesome.
So that is a lifestyle brand that I'm building. So elevator pitch of that is basically it's an armory for the modern day man. So we're talking like suits, toiletries, the whole
Ooh.
shebang, ties, all of these things. So all those goodies. Yeah.
Man,
I mean, and we don't stop there. It's not enough to equip you with the weapons. We need to teach you how to use them, right? I can't just
right.
give you a tie and not let you know how to tie a tie. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm not calling it a wardrobe brand. I'm calling it a lifestyle brand.
Lifestyle. I love that, bro.
Yeah.
Well, man, I can't wait to be able to collaborate in some way, shape, or form with you. We originally just met because I was in the Philippines and we knew JQ. I'll have to get
Yeah.
him on here sometime. I know he's
Yeah,
out there doing big
definitely.
things.
Definitely. That would
Um,
be awesome.
but no, appreciate your time, dude, and we'll catch back up with you soon.
No worries. Keep in touch, buddy. God bless.
Thank you, brother.
Make you know they shalaye. I don't want nobody to give my matter like for this life I day. I want to be celebrated. Don't wanna waste my day.